I am standing in my living room right now, holding the keys to a 4-bedroom house I bought with my own money in Beaverton, Oregon. The phone keeps buzzing with messages from people I used to call family. Their voices are angry, demanding, desperate. 3 years ago, these same people stood beside my ex-wife when she told me I did not deserve anything. They laughed when I lost everything. Now they want a piece of this success. They think they are entitled to walk through my front door and claim what I built from nothing. But this time I had the key, and I was not about to hand it over. Before I tell you how I got here and why they think they deserve a piece of what I built, drop a comment and let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this story gets a whole lot messier before it gets better. Let me take you back to when life felt normal, back when I believed family meant something. I married Jessica when I was 28 years old. We met at a tech conference in Seattle, and she seemed perfect. Smart, ambitious, beautiful. I was working as a mid-level engineer at a startup in the city, pulling in a decent salary, nothing fancy, but enough to build a comfortable life. We rented a nice 2-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill, had date nights every Friday, and talked about buying a house someday. My younger sister Deanna and I were close growing up. She was 5 years younger, always the baby of the family. But as adults, that dynamic shifted into something uncomfortable. Deanna had this habit of asking to borrow money. It started small $50 here, $100 there. Then it became $500 for rent, $1,000 for car repairs. She never paid me back. Not once. I kept a mental tally at first, but eventually I stopped counting because it felt petty. Family helps family right. That is what my parents, Roy and Linda, always told me. Roy and Linda lived in Tacoma, about an hour south of Seattle. They were not wealthy, but they were comfortable. Retired, collecting Social Security, living in the same house they bought in the 1980s. But they always favored Deanna. It was obvious. When she dropped out of college after one semester, they made excuses. When she could not hold down a job, they said she was figuring things out. When I graduated with a computer science degree and landed my first real job, they said congratulations, and then asked if I could help Deanna with her student loan payment. Jessica and Deanna became close about a year into my marriage. Too close. They went shopping together every weekend-long brunches that stretched into the afternoon girls' trips to Portland that I funded without question. I thought it was nice that my wife and sister got along. I wanted them to be friends. But looking back, I should have seen the signs. They whispered when I entered rooms. They exchanged glances that felt like inside jokes I was not part of. One Tuesday evening, I checked our joint savings account to transfer money for a car insurance payment. My stomach dropped. $47,000 was gone. Just gone. We had been saving for a down payment on a house, cutting back on dinners out, skipping vacations, and now the account showed a balance of $3,200. I called Jessica immediately. She was at Deanna's apartment, of course. Her voice was calm, almost bored when she answered. She told me she let Deanna borrow the money to open a nail salon. She said Deanna had a business plan, that it was a good investment, that Deanna promised to pay us back with interest in 2 years. I felt my blood pressure spike. I asked why she did not talk to me first. It was our money, our future. Jessica sighed like I was being unreasonable. She said I always made everything about money, that I did not understand what it meant to support family. I told her this was not support, this was theft. She hung up on me. I called Deanna. She answered on the first ring chipper and unapologetic. She thanked me for believing in her dream, said the salon was going to be amazing, said she would pay me back as soon as she started turning a profit. I told her I never agreed to this. She laughed and said Jessica already approved it. So what was the problem? I said the problem was that it was my money too. She called me selfish. Then she said something that stuck with me. She said, "You have always been tight with money, Baldwin. Maybe that is why you do not have real friends." I tried to talk to my parents. Surely they would see how messed up this was. Roy answered the phone, listened to my explanation for about 30 seconds, then cut me off. He said Deanna needed help and I was in a position to give it. He said I made good money and could save again. He said I was being petty and selfish. Linda got on the line and said I should be ashamed of myself for making Deanna feel bad. She said family takes care of each other, and I was failing at that. I hung up feeling more alone than I ever had. The next 6 months were miserable. Deanna's nail salon opened in a strip mall in Renton. It was poorly managed from the start. She hired friends instead of experienced staff, overspent on decor, and undercharged for services. Within 4 months, she was bleeding money. Within 6 months, the place closed. She never paid me back a single dollar. When I asked about it, she said the business failed and she had nothing to give. Jessica told me to let it go. My parents said I should not have expected repayment in the first place. Jessica grew distant. She stopped coming home for dinner. She said she was working late, but her job as a marketing coordinator did not require late hours. I checked our credit card statements and found charges I did not recognize. Expensive restaurants, luxury shopping spa days. When I confronted her, she said she deserved to treat herself. I asked with whose money. She said it was our money, so it was hers too. I told her we were supposed to be rebuilding our savings. She rolled her eyes and said I was controlling. I started noticing other things. She changed her phone password. She smiled at her screen in ways she had not smiled at me in months. When I asked if everything was okay between us, she said I was paranoid. My parents called me twice that month to tell me I needed to stop putting pressure on Jessica. They said I was pushing her away with my negativity. Deanna sent me a text calling me toxic. Then I lost my job. The startup I worked for launched a new product that flopped hard. They needed someone to blame, and I was on the team that built it. My manager, a guy named Marcus, called me into his office on a Thursday afternoon and told me they were letting me go. He said it was nothing personal, just business. I cleaned out my desk, walked to my car, and sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, trying to process what just happened. I had no job, no savings, and a wife who barely looked at me anymore. I drove home and told Jessica. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. When I said I got fired, she looked up at me with zero emotion. She said, "I cannot do this anymore." I asked what she meant. She stood up and said she wanted a divorce. Just like that. No discussion, no attempt to work through it. She said she had been unhappy for a long time and this was the final straw. I asked if she was serious. She said she had never been more serious about anything in her life. Then the front door opened. Deanna walked in, followed by my parents. Jessica had called them before I even got home. They were there to support her, not me. Roy looked at me with disgust and said, "You never were good enough for her anyway, Baldwin." Linda nodded and said, "Jessica deserves better than a failure." Deanna smirked and added, "Guess you will not be bailing me out anymore, huh?" I stood there in my own living room surrounded by people who were supposed to love me, and realized I was completely alone. Jessica kept the apartment. Her name was on the lease as the primary, and I did not have the money to fight it. I packed my clothes into 2 suitcases and moved into a studio apartment in a rough part of Portland. It was all I could afford. The place was 400 square feet, had a window that did not close all the way, and I could hear my neighbors arguing through the walls every night. My bank account had $3,000 left. No job, no family, no future I could see. The first month in that studio apartment was the darkest period of my life. I applied to 73 jobs and heard back from 4. 3 rejections and 1 interview that went nowhere. The tech industry is brutal when you have a termination on your record, even if it was not your fault. Companies see that gap. They see that you got let go, and they assume you are the problem. I stopped shaving. I ate ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. I stared at the ceiling and wondered how everything fell apart so fast. Jessica's divorce papers arrived in the mail. She wanted alimony. She claimed she had supported me emotionally during our marriage and deserved compensation. I could not afford a lawyer. I represented myself in court, which was a disaster. The judge looked at me like I was wasting his time. Jessica's lawyer painted me as controlling and financially abusive. I tried to explain about the $47,000, but I had no proof that I did not agree to it. The joint account showed a withdrawal with Jessica's authorization, and that was all the court cared about. I lost. I had to pay her $300 a month for 2 years. $300 I did not have. I called my parents once during this time. I do not know why. Maybe I hoped they would realize how badly they messed up. Maybe I thought they would apologize. Roy answered. I told him I was struggling. He said I should have thought about that before I ruined my marriage. I asked if he was serious. He said Jessica called them every week, that she was doing great, that she was dating someone new, someone successful. I felt my throat tighten. I asked if that someone was Marcus. Roy paused, then said, "So what if it is he treats her right?" I hung up and did not call again. But something shifted in me after that call. I was tired of being the victim. I was tired of feeling sorry for myself. I decided that if no one was going to help me, I would help myself. I found 2 jobs. The first was washing dishes at a Mexican restaurant in downtown Portland. The pay was terrible, $9 an hour, but they hired me on the spot. The second was a night shift at a warehouse loading trucks from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I worked 7 days a week. I slept 4 hours a night. My body hurt constantly, but I was making money. During my breaks at the warehouse, I taught myself new programming languages. I watched YouTube tutorials on my phone. I joined online developer communities and started building projects. Small stuff at first: a personal website, a budgeting app, a tool to scrape job listings. I put everything on GitHub and slowly built a portfolio. It was rough, but it was mine. I met Eugene at a local coffee shop on one of my rare days off. He was a developer working remotely for a company in Austin, Texas. We started talking about code, and he looked at my GitHub. He said my work was solid. He said I should apply to remote positions because the market was better outside Seattle. He became the first real friend I had in years. He did not know about my past, did not judge me, just saw me as someone trying to make it. We met up every couple weeks, talked about tech, about life. He reminded me that I was not as broken as I felt. After 1 year of working those 2 jobs, I got an email. A startup in Austin wanted to interview me for a senior software engineer position. Remote work. Salary of $95,000 a year. I almost deleted the email thinking it was spam, but I responded. The interview process took 3 weeks. 3 rounds of technical interviews, a culture fit call, and a final conversation with the CTO. I was terrified the entire time. But I knew my stuff. I had spent a year grinding learning building. When they offered me the job, I sat in my studio apartment and cried for the first time since the divorce. The money changed everything. I kept living in that studio for another 6 months, saving every dollar I could. I worked remotely from the same tiny space with the broken window, but now I had hope. I opened a new bank account that no one knew about. I automated my savings. Every paycheck, 70% went straight into that account. I lived on the rest. I bought groceries from discount stores. I cut my own hair. I did not go out. I did not date. I focused on one thing, building a future. 2 years after my divorce was finalized, I had saved $80,000. It was enough for a down payment on a house. I started looking at properties in the Portland suburbs. I wanted space. I wanted a yard. I wanted a place that was mine, where no one could take it away from me. I found a 4-bedroom house in Beaverton. It needed some work, but the bones were good. The neighborhood was safe. The price was fair. I made an offer. It was accepted. When I signed the closing papers, my hand shook. I walked through the empty house with the keys in my palm and felt something I had not felt in years. Pride. I did not tell anyone. Not my parents. Not Deanna. Not Jessica. I kept my life private. I posted nothing on social media. I wanted this to be mine and mine alone. But one of Eugene's friends, a guy I had met once at a barbecue, saw the house while driving through the neighborhood. He recognized my car in the driveway. He took a photo and posted it on Facebook, tagging me. The caption said, "Look who is moving up in the world." I did not think anything of it. I should have. 3 days after that photo went live, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something told me to pick up. It was Deanna. Her voice was sweet, syrupy fake. She said, "Baldwin. Oh my gosh, I have missed you so much. I saw you bought a house. That is incredible. I am so proud of you." I said nothing. She kept talking. She said she had been thinking about me a lot, that she regretted how things ended, that family should not let time and distance ruin their bond. I asked her what she wanted. She laughed nervously and said she did not want anything, she just wanted to reconnect. Then she started talking about herself. The nail salon had failed years ago. She was living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Tacoma, working part-time at a grocery store. She had debt. Credit card companies were calling her. She was stressed. She said she had been looking at places to move, maybe somewhere with lower rent, maybe somewhere she could get back on her feet. She paused, waiting for me to offer. I did not. She asked if I had extra space in my new house. I told her I did, but it was not available. She asked why not. I said because I did not want her there. Her tone shifted immediately. She said I was still holding a grudge. She said family forgives. I told her forgiveness does not mean forgetting, and I hung up. 2 days later, Jessica called. I had blocked her old number years ago, but she was calling from a new one. I answered out of morbid curiosity. Her voice was different, softer, vulnerable. She said she heard about the house. She said she was happy for me. She said she had been doing a lot of thinking about the past, about us, about the mistakes she made. I asked her what she wanted. She said Marcus had left her. They dated for 2 years, and then he moved to California for a new job and did not ask her to come. She was unemployed. She was living with my parents in Tacoma. She said she made a terrible mistake leaving me. She said she realized I was the good one all along. She asked if we could talk in person, maybe grab coffee, maybe see if there was still something between us. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just emptiness. I told her no. She started crying. She said she had nowhere to go. She said my parents were driving her crazy. She said she just needed a place to stay for a few weeks while she figured things out. She said I had a 4-bedroom house, surely I could spare one room. I told her that chapter of my life was closed. She said I was cruel. She said I used to be kind. I said I used to be a lot of things, and then I hung up. A week later, I was working from home when I heard a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Roy and Linda standing on my porch. They looked older. Roy had gained weight. Linda was using a cane. I opened the door but did not invite them in. Roy said they needed to talk. Linda said it was important. I crossed my arms and waited. Roy said they were having financial trouble. His diabetes medication was expensive. Linda's arthritis treatment was not covered by insurance. They were living on a fixed income, and it was not enough. They said they heard I bought a big house and they were wondering if they could move in. Just temporarily. Just until they got back on their feet. I stared at them. These 2 people who raised me, who were supposed to protect me, who chose everyone else over me when I needed them most. Roy said, "We are your parents, Baldwin. You owe us." Linda added, "After everything we did raising you, this is how you repay us." I felt a surge of anger so strong I had to clench my fists to keep from shaking. I said, "You chose Jessica and Deanna over me. You told me I was a failure. You laughed when I lost everything. I owe you nothing." Linda started crying. Roy called me ungrateful. I stepped back inside and closed the door in their faces. That should have been the end of it, but it was not. Over the next month, they launched a full assault. Deanna called me 15 times a day. Jessica sent emails, long, rambling messages about how much she missed me, how she still loved me, how we could start over. Roy and Linda showed up at my house unannounced twice more. The second time, they brought a suitcase. They said they were moving in whether I liked it or not. I told them if they did not leave, I would call the police. Roy said I would not dare. I pulled out my phone and started dialing. They left. Deanna posted on Facebook. She wrote a long status about how her brother had abandoned his family, how he bought a big house and refused to help anyone, how he was selfish and cold. She tagged distant relatives, family friends, people I had not spoken to in years. My phone blew up with messages. Cousins I barely knew called me cruel. An aunt told me I should be ashamed. A former family friend said I was not the person she thought I was. I did not respond to any of them. I did not owe anyone an explanation. Jessica sent flowers to my office address, which she somehow found. The card said, "I still love you. Please give me another chance." I threw them in the trash. She sent another bouquet the next week, then another. I called the florist and told them to stop accepting orders under my name. Roy and Linda called my neighbors, told them I was a bad son, asked them to talk sense into me. One of my neighbors, an older woman named Margaret, came over and asked if everything was okay. I explained the situation. She hugged me and said, "You do not owe toxic people anything, even if they are family." The harassment continued for 6 weeks. Then I made a decision. I called a lawyer and filed for a cease and desist order. I documented every call, every text, every unwanted visit. I installed security cameras around my house. I took screenshots of Deanna's Facebook posts. I presented everything to my lawyer, and he sent formal letters to Jessica, Deanna, Roy, and Linda. The letters warned them that any further contact would result in legal action, including a restraining order. Within a week, the calls stopped. The emails stopped. The visits stopped. The silence was jarring at first, but then it became peaceful. I still live in that house today. I turned one bedroom into a home office, another into a gym. The third is a guest room for Eugene when he visits. The fourth is empty, and I like it that way. It represents space I do not have to fill freedom. I do not have to justify. I wake up every morning, make coffee, and sit on my back porch looking at the yard I mowed myself. The grass is green. The fence is sturdy. The air smells like cedar trees and rain. I stayed in therapy for a year after everything happened. My therapist helped me understand that setting boundaries was not cruel, it was necessary. She helped me see that I was not responsible for other people's choices or their consequences. She taught me that forgiveness does not require reconciliation. I forgave my family for what they did not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. But forgiveness did not mean letting them back into my life. Eugene and I still meet for coffee every couple of weeks. He brought his girlfriend to my house for dinner last month, and we grilled steaks in the backyard. They are good people. Real people. The kind who show up when things are hard, not just when things are easy. I have built a small circle of friends through work and through hobbies I picked up like hiking and photography. These people do not know about my past unless I choose to share it. They like me for who I am now, not who I was or what I can give them. I started dating again about a year ago. Her name is Kara. She is a teacher, kind and patient and real. She knows my story. I told her everything on our third date because I wanted her to understand why I am cautious, why I move slowly, why I do not talk to my family. She listened without judgment. She said everyone has a past and what matters is how we grow from it. We have been together for 8 months now. She has a key to my house. That means something. I have not heard from Deanna, Jessica Roy, or Linda in over 2 years. I do not know where they are or what they are doing, and I do not care. I blocked them on every platform. I changed my phone number. I made it clear through legal channels that any attempt to contact me would be met with consequences. The silence used to feel lonely, but now it feels like freedom. I do not miss them. I do not wonder if I made the right choice. I know I did. People ask me sometimes if I regret cutting off my family. I tell them no. Family is not just about blood. It is about who shows up when you are at your lowest, not who shows up when you are at your highest. It is about who supports you without expecting something in return. It is about respect and love and effort. My biological family failed at all of that, but I found a new family, friends who care, a partner who values me, a community that respects me. That is worth more than any shared last name. I learned that you cannot save people who do not want to be saved. I learned that you cannot pour from an empty cup. I learned that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away even when it hurts, even when people call you selfish, even when you feel guilty. I learned that protecting your peace is not negotiable. And I learned that success is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about building a life you are proud of, with or without anyone's approval. The house is quiet most days. I work from my office upstairs, take breaks to walk around the neighborhood, cook dinner in a kitchen that is mine. On weekends, I have people over. We laugh, we eat, we share stories. There is no tension, no manipulation. No one asking for money or favors or second chances they have not earned. Just genuine connection. That is what I was missing all those years. Sometimes I drive past the old studio apartment where I lived after the divorce. It is still there, same cracked window, same peeling paint. I think about the version of me who lived there, broken and desperate, and convinced he would never recover. I wish I could tell him it gets better. I wish I could tell him that the pain he is feeling will turn into strength. I wish I could tell him that losing everything was not the end, it was the beginning. I do not believe in revenge. I do not think about my ex-wife struggling, or my sister working a dead-end job, or my parents dealing with their health issues and feeling satisfaction. I genuinely hope they figure their lives out, but I hope they do it far away from me. I hope they learn the lessons they need to learn. I hope they grow. But their growth is not my responsibility. My only responsibility is to myself, to the life I am building, to the people who actually show up for me. The phone does not ring anymore, and honestly, the silence is the sweetest sound I have ever heard. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well. If you made it this far, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to cut off toxic family members? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below and share your story. And if this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminded you that you deserve peace, you deserve respect, and you deserve a life built on your own terms. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember that sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do.